Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. I don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Whoa, it must be time for hemp again. Woohoo! Caught me in the middle of a hit. And thank you for taking time for hemp. If you don't mind, before we get started, hit the like and subscribe button down below. Share this with your friends. That is how we get found around on the internet. And anywhere there is sound to be found on the internet, you can find the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network is making as much noise as we can on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, iHeart, iTunes, and Spotify, and of course, at timeforhemp.news. We are blessed today to have an interesting individual who's working diligently in Texas to raise the voice of the cannabis movement as our guest. But we're going to be bringing on our joint host first, as always, and don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, we want you to hit your pipes, your bongs, your vaporizers, and take time for hemp. Coming up out of the wings is a good friend of mine from Canada. That's how you pronounce Canada. And he does a thing called Pace Radio Network. Al Graham. Al, thank you for being part of the big broadcast today.
Hey, you're welcome, and thank you for having me part of the big broadcast as well.
What's that quacking I hear?
Oh, that's my phone quacking off at me. I'll just turn off those ducks so you don't hear them.
All right, so why don't you let people know about the Pace Radio Network while you got a minute?
Okay, the Pace Radio Network is people advocating cannabis education. We are a radio and video network, just so you know. But when we got started, there was no video, was there, Casper? It was all just audio, and we cover cannabis, obviously, as well as psychedelics, and we interview guests include. Let's see, business owners, patients, advocates, finding out, what's going on in and around Canada and elsewhere around the world as well.
Well, groovy. And I understand that we've got another groovy joint host on the big broadcast, Al Byrne. Al has written a fantastic book you can find on Amazon. Al Byrne, why don't you let people know about that fantastic book so they can make it a point to read it?
I will. But first, I got to say good evening. Usually we do this show in the afternoon on East Coast time, but tonight we're doing it in the evening, so the lights are going to be a little different, I suppose. The book I wrote is called For Country and Cannabis. It's about my journey of 40 years with the cannabis plant through the early days when medical cannabis was not discussed until today. And so the big book is basically, how did that happen? What happened between today and 1985 that medical cannabis became a reality, not only in the United States, but in the world? You read the book, you'll know. And one of the offgrowths of all that education that we did was we hoped, the founders, the beginning of this conversation, hoped that we would build a sort of an inverse pyramid, if you will, that from a little bit of shouting, other people would, I remember distinctly, we had a conference in Santa Barbara, California years back, and the mayor of the city was kind enough to introduce the conference to the assembled audience. We had about 400 people there. And she said, when you're done with this conference, you're going to learn a lot. She said, and when you're done, go forth and multiply. And that was pretty much what we had wanted to do from the get-go. And we thought that if we could present education real science. I used to say patience out of time deals in real science, not political science. And that real science argument is where we finally overcame the ignorance. We're not out of it. Those of us in the United States know that as a federal law, that cannabis is still prohibited. There's X number of reasons why that can't be, but it is. We'll see how that goes in the near future, but that's where we are. But nevertheless, go forth and multiply. That's our next guest, is one of those guys that has gone and done that to my satisfaction, Casper's, and everybody else's. Casper let my joke out of the bag, because I was going to introduce this man as being from the state with the stupidest lieutenant governor of all of them. But he already said Texas. So Joshua is from Texas, and he's going to bring him up here. And I'm going to get my glasses so I can read his name. I know it is. Castaneda. Yeah, I'm old, Joshua. Smile at me. That's nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
God help you, brother.
Yeah.
You're awesome. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you very much. And I am so sorry that you're in Texas having to work with that man. I don't even know if we want to even mention his name, but you're here because you are turning Casper back into a well-known name in the world of cannabis. That he's old, he dropped out, he's a geezer like me. Nobody gives a shit about old geezers, and then all of a sudden, you come up and you're resurrecting this guy. What's going on?
Oh, first off, thank you for your time. Blessings to each and every one of y'all. Casper's amazing. The journey is very interesting. He expresses a lot of his own opinions. So do you all, and I appreciate each and every one of you for that. As to just a minor correction, I was just a witness, and I'm trying to help these individuals promote an event in Texas. There's actual patients there. There's hemp legislation. There's other things that they're working towards, bringing the Department of Agriculture and strategic partners together. It's an event at the Texas Music River Ranch. And the reason why Casper came to mind is they're in the midst of talking. The group, there's Justin, which Dabber 710 is his moniker, and then there's also Michael Camp. These are the two actual orchestrators. I'm just giving an echo of accolades and thankfulness that they've allowed me to be able to say, hey, here is Casper. He's the guy that you're looking for and proposing for the solution for this. The founder of the marijuana television stuff that, helped everything go on in Canada with that whole, cannabis culture thing that they do up there too. The time for hemp, that is understandable now today because of Jack Herrera, Captain's legacy. All of you guys had a piece to put this together. It's not me. I'm just over here saying, oh, here's the foundation that was already built. Why are we trying to, strike up another foundation? We might as well, give a little kudos and credit to the people who allowed us to learn the things that you guys have already gone through. Pace Network being in all these voices and patience together, patience out of time. Like, there's so much stuff that you all have done with your life's work. And I appreciate that you would even look at this event for a moment or direct traffic towards it, because the intention is there. It's the same heart. It's the same service. And that's why I think Casper came to mind so fervently. Is there is an ideal that somebody getting on and giving a keynote speech should have an impact. They should have had an impact. He's been volunteering since 1991? I mean, come on, guys. Tell me, Casper, where's all the money at? Where's all the volunteer money at?
Exactly.
That's his first joke. He said he was going to tell jokes.
Jack Hare hired me in 1989 to run his office, and at the end of 1989, and during the course of 1990, they were working on the California Hemp Initiative. And we were trying to find somebody to get some public attention to it. So I decided to put together 3 or 4 segments of a thing called Time for a Hemp.
Just 3 or 4, right?
Right. Put it out in community cable access and use the information that we put out on the shows and our advertising on radio and TV. And it made its debut on January 5th, 1991. And oddly enough, I found out, to be the first television series and broadcast history to focus on cannabis, hemp, in a positive light. Then, because of all the hardworking activists across America getting copies of the show, it was the first community cable access show to debut in 17 states, 27 cities. Then, because of Chris Bennett and
Thank you, Chris.
Mark
Right,
Emery,
and
Chris
Emery.
Bennett, Mark Emery, and some guy up in Amsterdam who owns Sensi Seeds. You have to check
Some
him
guy.
out. Yeah, he put it on in his hemp museum up there, and then they showed it in Australia, making Time for Hemp the first community cable access show in broadcast history to go international. And it was quite an interesting journey, I must say. And it's been fun, and it's been a little more than 3 or 4 segments, that's for sure.
Well, what's amazing, Casper, is you're the same guy on camera as off camera. And there's a lot of the ego that goes on in this industry, a lot of stuff that happens. But I'm glad to see sincere individuals like yourselves being able to step up and still represent the truth and helping the next generation learn from, the mistakes of all of us that we've learned all the way through here, right? So as far as what I'm seeing right now is there's an opportunity to help people know the intention again. When you come on stage, you're able to empower folks with those testimonials about Jack Herrera and the firsthand things that you've experienced, and also validate, the life's work of all these folks that are trying right now to get into an industry that's already thriving again. Bioremediation should be a topic of discussion. Using using both the plants and the myco remediation, as far as bioremediation with this plant, should be our first conversation. It should be everywhere, fixing the soil, right? But at the same time, if it fixes the soil and it pulls all of these things out, you can also see how people have weaponized this and used toxins and grown it in radioactive soil and then fed that to folks. So we've also got to have our own certifications, our own class. They don't even consider it organic. They don't look at it the same way in the US. So we have to change a stigma, but we first have to declare it as an essential. And I think you guys see how essential it is. It's vital to life. If you look at it from the point of view as a vegetable, we're supposed to take the flower when it's sensimilia and pure in its essence, and those sifted trichomes but rebonded to the seed oil that's been cold pressed extracted, and that superfood allows our bodies to finally repair. So why would it be that we can only buy Canadian hemp seed? Why would it be that we can only buy FDA approved XJ59 all the way from Ukraine? And so there's a direct legacy that you all represent. And Jack, he'd be rolling around right now going, it's legal and you guys are still arguing the wrong things. Why are we even talking about this way? We should be making fuel and food. There wouldn't even be an issue with the economy if this was done properly. So these are the individuals that I see that are aligning with that in Texas. And I would love for Casper, and you have a newsletter. If everybody would like to take a look, I think it's Texas HempstaLK.com if you want to look at the website and where it is thus far. Casper's mug is right on there as a keynote speaker. It's going on for Memorial Day weekend, May 24th through the 25th. Paul Stanford is going to be there, which is going to be an interesting segue for you to bring up some of that amazing truth that you get to see both in front of the camera and behind, because these individuals are amazing folks that have testimonials that will help us all learn from each other and the mistakes of our forefathers so we don't make those same ones again, right? Personal soapbox to what I'm seeing, I want to make it very clear that we are here to help. We are not looking at this as an antagonistic way, but I will tongue in cheek make a character and kind of make fun of myself. Being from Alabama and I can figure this out, Texas should have already figured this out. So we're over here going, hey, come on, guys. I mean, we got 1 gram and we got 1 Byrne. You put them together, you're going to burn a gram right here, all of y'all. So blessed be Tree Family. Go ahead. Casper, why don't you go ahead and look through the website and sir, if you would read off some of what's going on here, because I would love to hear the new information that you can go look at, but you're here with us live, so I would love to hear your point of view too.
Well, what I'm curious about is, how did Portland Hempstock become Texas Hempstock?
That's a great question. You know, I bet you if you go back into the archives, if you actually search, you'll find Jack was over there, right? At the Seattle hemp thing, right? Oh, okay. So he's noted all the way there. So they're trying to get to the legacy of Jack. Do you know anybody who still distributes Jack's book or has shows about him and Captain Ed and those kind of things where people could do a little research to find out why folks like Paul Stanford from Portland's Hempstalk are validated by the life's work of someone like Jack Herrera and what he
Well, I
stood
think you
for and
can
organized?
find Jack's hair on Amazon. I give it away for free on my website. I give it away for free on my website, and I did a blog about Jack that really brings him to life. So I think I'm one of the few people on the planet who are still talking about Jack hair.
Well, if my understanding serves me well with this, we are all under this word game thing, right? And Jack was very vocal about whatever he felt or thought. And I think that he would want his legacy to be something that's impactful. So when I brought up that topic of bioremediation, I think that's the word that would describe if we were to take fungus or bacterium and combine it with the growth of canna, specifically, you know, to bio rejuvenate the soil, that would be something that would stand for what he brought to us, brought to the attention of all of us. So bioremediation is a topic, but as to all these individuals in their entertainment, the reason why we're coming together, there's a whole slew of musicians and amazing people that are coming to this kind of an event on a Memorial weekend. You don't have nothing to do, should definitely show up. But enough about that for a second. What I want to hear from is this live broadcast thing. Did you guys see this? They're going to be broadcasting with an NFP partner. The community radio is also taking root in it. I wonder if Pace could join in and broadcast live along with these other folks. What do you guys think about that? I think it's 104.7 KZSM.
I see that they were a media partner within at your festival there, and I seen Casper listed on there. Now, is there a way of us broadcasting from there?
I'm sure there is.
I have done it. I actually this weekend I'm heading to Toronto to cover the Global Marijuana March, and so we do mobile coverage. It's something that I would have to talk to Casper about doing, because it, you know, just to say, yeah, I can do it, but he still needs to know what kind of equipment he would need to have, and
Sure.
and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's very possible to do that for sure.
Yeah, and you got the right group of people, because Al Graham and Al Byrne and myself pioneered this, didn't we, guys? I had 1999, 1998. I released the timeforhemp.com website. So it's one of the oldest domain names. It's a legacy domain name. And it was one of the first websites on the internet, period, that offered free video downloads, let alone about marijuana. Oh, my God, that topic. And then I through the help of American Freedom Radio, I was broadcasting through there. And when they went under, I kept on continuing the work. And iHeartRadio picked me up. The next thing I knew, it was going different places. And then bringing on people like Al Graham and Al Byrne as first joint hosts, and then we produced their own shows. They began pioneering the work as well. So if anybody can figure it out, you've got the right group of clowns. Right, guys?
We'll figure it out. We'll get her.
I agree. We're the best. Yep.
Yeah.
We're as good as it is. Yep.
Al Byrne, I'll let you take a question or two.
Well, you know, Texas. I actually, as I said, back in the old days, we wanted people like you and your cohorts in this to exist, or, you know, spread the word. And I like what you're doing. You're not totally in my world, which is education, but you've got a lot of education in there. You've got entertainment. You've got a civil atmosphere with a good vibe going on, and I think it's all positive. And in that kind of an environment, you're educating people about cannabis, not only its therapeutic value, but as we all know, it can do anything else. So I think it's wonderful. I hope you have multitudes of people, and I hope it's a great success, and we can see that kind of activity everywhere, more and more every year until we don't have to do it anymore.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? It's a cyclic behavior, brother. Like, hey, Al, let me ask you a question, sir. I appreciate your sentiment about the education and that we're maybe not perfectly aligned with what your ideals or whatever education you'd want. But can you define what the actual word hemp, the letters HEMPE, where that comes from? Do you know the Francis Bacon reference or anything like that?
HEMPE.
Correct. That was the original word.
I have no idea.
No.
Okay, so we're gonna take.
I'll tell you a Jack Hurst story. So
Go ahead,
I'm on
sir.
the board of directors in Normal. I don't know, 1989, someplace in there. And I didn't know Jack. We're having a board meeting in D.C. And one of the staff guys comes in and says, "Hey, this guy's from California, and he wants to have 10 minutes with the board of directors. He's got something he needs to talk to you guys about. Can you give him 10 minutes?" And yeah, sure, So in comes Jack. I've never seen him before. I've told this story before, but it's worth repeating. He had on the worst fitting and appearing sport coat
Dude.
I have ever seen in my life, then, before, since. It was just fucking awful. It looked like it just didn't fit. It was just it's worse than that. It's worse, and it was like Joseph's coat of many colors or whatever that thing is in the Bible. It's crazy. And he comes in and he says, he doesn't even say his name. He says, "This coat is made out of hemp."
You get a pass.
So what he wanted was, he was great. We become dear friends. But what he wanted that day was Normal, for whatever reason, to get to your question, owned the copyright on H period, E period, M period, P period. I don't know why, who did it or anything. He wanted it. We gave it to him. So that's all I know about him.
Okay.
And what he did with that is that he started the organization, the Help End Marijuana Prohibition organization, there in Van Nuys, California, and in Venice. And
that's what he wanted hemp for. Yeah.
And he was running it in such a way that Jack had problems with money. He liked to spend it, but he didn't spend it to the right people. And people would order his books, and he would say they'll send cases, and then he forgot to send the cases, but he spent the money. So he had some problems with that. And the people were wanting to work with him. And so he was trying to find somebody that people would work with. And he came into my science supply shop. And for some reason, he thought that I had the right personality for customer service. And he badgered me until I finally said, "Well, all right, I'll come to work for you." And I did. And people were glad they did. Once I did, people started working with him again. And I made damn sure when they ordered a case of books, those bitches got their books, motherfucker. They didn't have to sit and wait for it. And I remember Chris Conrad coming in a month after I was there. He goes, "I hear you're running Jack's office in a good way." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, Jack owes me 12 cases of books." And I go, "Well, there's 20 over there that I got to send out." He goes, "No, there's not. There's 8 over there you're going to be sending out," because he owes me 12 cases of books. And Chris Conrad started carrying out those cases one at a time. And I went, "Well, all right, you're paid off." But Chris Conrad helped to edit Jack's book, along with Lynn and Judy Osborne. And even while I was on staff, he would have me a book to proofread this. I was like, "Well, all right." But which I thought was kind of funny, because I'd only been in his office about 3 weeks, and he had me fire off a letter to Normal about a week earlier. And the telephone rang, and there's Keith Strop on the phone, and I answered, "Hemp." He goes, "Is Jack Hare there?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Who's that?" I said, "It's Casper Leitch." "I don't want to talk to you. Put on Jack." So I put on Jack, and the first thing he said to Jack was, "Who the hell sent this letter to Normal from your office?" And Jack said, "Why?" He says, "Because they sent it to NORMAL. So I want to know who you hired." And Jack said, "It's right here. Let me hand the phone back to it." And I went, "Can I help you?" And Keith Strop said, "So you're the one who sent me the letter to NORMAL?" And I went, "Yeah, isn't that how you spell normal?" He goes, "Nope, NORML. And if you ever send a letter to us like that again, it'll come back unanswered, unopened." So I had a lot to learn when he hired me. I was wanting to put together I was working on a comedy magazine, called later about reasons to leave Los Angeles. And I was working on a comedy stand-up routine, which I got to say now at my age, the hardest part about stand-up comedy is not the comedy, it's the standing up. And I was wanting to learn how to write comedy scripts. And I'd been hanging out at the Comedy Store and kind of bumped into people that were kind of, you might have heard, like Roseanne Barr and people like that were just starting out.
Yeah.
But when you get involved in the cannabis hemp movement and you learn all the crap that's been people have been lied to about, and you learn all the wonderful things that it can do, suddenly it just overtakes your whole life.
Yeah.
And I was no longer chasing a career in comedy writing and comedy routines and comedy magazines. I was suddenly taking time for hemp.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So now, and again, how did we end up with the Portland Hempstalk in Texas? I still haven't gotten an answer to that. Did you all just like throw a dart on the board? Boom! Let's have it there.
You thought at his age he'd have short-term memory loss, didn't you? But now this guy's still sharp. He is.
Yeah, it's a great question. What I would defer to is we need to get Michael Camp and to know the exact backstory of what happened. But as to general assessment, they tried to find the best of the best. It was connected that he had the IP for the Seattle Hemp Fest. Well, the individual, the LK, the commemorative part of this, you're going to have to look a little bit deeper to see what they're doing this for and why. But the reason why they reached out to Paul was because he was willing to offer the IP for the hemp stock to be done here in Texas. And so they tended to change that LK at the end in the legacy memory of an individual, which, I can't do justice to individuals that I don't fully know. And I want to make sure that that's clear, is that I'm just a steward of this information and trying to make sure as an ambassador for anybody who's watching to go do their own due diligence and research everything we're talking about. But the website should explain how that connection happens. And one of the reasons why I wanted to address it was, if you look at it from the point of view of Seattle, right, Hempstock was the one that everybody was thinking, and then Portland was like an offshoot, and then we have this event to where that they're trying to give it that caliber of what the 1990s were, and that nostalgia effect of what we're all lacking today is the community, the genuine belonging to the one another that this hemp plant brings. Personally, I don't use terminology the same way other people do. It's more religious to me, and I use the Hebrew terms like KANEH, KANEH, to refer to the same plant because it's not limited to industrialization or anything like that. I personally hold beliefs that I've conveyed to individuals privately, but I'll share this part of it is when I look at the plant, I saw it as something that people were shepherding and they should be sharing. And you're supposed to feed your sheep, and you kind of hit the staff down, and everybody comes together to eat, right, and culminate and enjoy. But it's also a safety mechanism. And by not having these kind of events and not having these kind of legacies, the shepherds are denying the sheep the access to the clean water and the good food. And for me, that's a calling back to the plantation of renown promises, the scriptures calling out for this plant to be grown everywhere, bearing its fruit every month, it being directly connected to us. So it has a spiritual root to me that's more ecclesiastical than most folks. And I try my best to honor it. And one of the reasons why I asked that question about the phrase hemp, HEMPE, and I would ask all of you to do this because this is a broadcast named Time for Hemp. Henry Edward Mary Philip Elizabeth was the acronym for the Tudor dynasty when they branded the plant to belong to them. They were mandated to grow their hemp plant. We were a hempy colony of the Jamestown, Virginia Crown Colony. So we are right now repatriated by way of our language. We don't even know what this originally meant and how it came to today. So if we don't share those lessons of history, we're doomed to repeat those cycles of control. And that's why I'm here to say, hey, look, if you have time to go research, do your own due diligence, research. This plant is amazing. You will find that no matter what you call her, no matter where you go, it's the same story. It's an amazing fruitful plant that provides every aspect of life. I personally think it was given to us as the abundant measure for all measuring of standards, weights. It's how they built the temple. It's how they judged how much silver was worth. The first people were accounted by this. So this is the key ingredient to the community, is the intention you offer this plant and sacrament with, in my world. So when I see individuals doing that and trying to teach others how to do that, yes, this time is very valuable. You all understand what we are all trying to figure out. The cliff's edge is right here. Build a hang glider with him, fly off that joker and get to the other side. We can fix this. We have everything.
Well, and one thing you did point out that the LK and Hempstalk, at the end of the Hempstalk word, they've capitalized the L and the K, and that stands for Larry Kirk.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Okay. All right. I was wondering
Larry
about
Kirk
that.
has passed away. Larry Kirk left us, and he was quite a presence at the Seattle Hemp Fest and Portland Hempstock, and in both those states, and very active. And
Hey, you just answered the question that was asked. You're amazing.
No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. This is.
Yeah, I know, brother. That's what
Anyway,
the memory's for.
so
You answered it. Thank you so much.
It's a tribute to him because of his hard work, and so that he's never forgotten for what he's done. Because of him, the legalization happened in Washington and Portland, and Hemp Fest in Seattle grew to be. He worked with Vivian McPeak to help that become a major success, and then he also worked diligently with Paul Stanford to help the Portland Hempstock become a success as well. And so it's our way of never forgetting.
Thank you.
Who he is. Al, please take the questions for a minute.
All right.
Well, one thing I'd like to say is you got to Texas, and that's a good thing. One of the things I tried to do when we were running the conferences at Patients at a Time was to go where it was hard. Go where that particular group that was having trouble with the government or whoever the hell was giving them a hard time. And I always thought that by doing that, we seriously helped the cause in that state. You look at where we went that wasn't legal for medicine, and a year later it just followed us around the country. So I applaud that you're going to Texas. That's hard down there. It shouldn't be. I mean, the hemp that could be grown in that state. Well, we just had a guest on from Australia, and he was growing seeds in Australia, and selling them in Texas. Yeah, who's that? That was Jason, right? Jason Law?
Right.
Yeah.
You might want to look back at a couple of shows back, but we'll get to that later. But anyway, I am glad it's in Texas. I really appreciate your take on the plant. I tell you, if I'd known that where the history of the word came from, I would have put it in my book. I would have. I didn't know.
Your reference is the letters from Francis Bacon in the late 1500s. You can look up Francis Bacon and the phrase hempy, Hempe, and it'll say there's a phrase in there that he uses after he describes it. He goes, "When hemp is spun, England is done." This was a revolutionary thing, gentlemen. No. It was everything we needed to get all the way across the world. So absolutely.
And it didn't really get introduced, I don't think, into the United Kingdom area until about the late 1500s, and it certainly didn't show up here until people from Europe brought it.
Yeah. Well, we had the Spanish version, but we also have some history here in America that we don't really like to talk about, is those Irish orphans that were brought over to work the fields. Those were those indentured servants that we gave citizenship back to after, right? Well, the reason why those orphans were brought over to work in the textile farming industries that came from Ireland is that was where they were originally growing their fibrous material to make their sails and riggings. And they found out that America had better soil and better climate, so they wanted to get as many of those folks over to America. And guess what? All of those mothers who were working in the textile mills to feed their orphans who were at the orphan because they couldn't afford the lifestyle in the day, When they took their kids over here to America, that same textile industry of all of those seamstresses and those workers of the textiles and the ropes and the rigging, they came to America to establish the hemp colony specifically to produce this plant into a product for the shipping industries for the maritime trade. But
And
yeah, continue.
they did good.
Mhm.
Well, and
They
that's the
got their
kind of
freedom
stuff.
back.
That's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about at the Texas Hempstalk. I understand. Now, one of the groovy things about it's based on the Portland Hempstalk, and Paul Stanford and I worked on that a couple of times. I think we got a picture of Paul and I, don't we, Al? Al Graham?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Right here.
And
There you are.
there's Paul Stanford and some crazy clown named Casper Leitch in the middle of one of Paul's little gardens there. And Paul Stanford is a pioneer in a lot of ways. I jokingly say he was born in pioneer days like I, but the fact is, Paul was very instrumental in changing the laws in Oregon, and then actually applying the laws that were changed by opening up a variety of medical outlets that made it possible for people to get their medical marijuana license. And we don't like to say marijuana, but that's what it was, a medical marijuana license, so they could have medical cannabis for their medical needs. And Paul Stanford helped pioneer that. He's also got a huge archive of videos that he's been doing. He's been doing a great little show called Cannabis Common Sense since I think the 1700s. I mean, there's a lot of shows in there. He does them once a week, and he always has a great guest on there. And you go through his archives, and you find everybody who's ever smoked marijuana on the planet has been on Paul's show. And then Paul also is very knowledgeable about the plant. I mean, he's got a great memory, and he also has the ability to put together facts in such a way that people can understand it. So he can take a very complicated thing about cannabis or hemp and make it so that everybody can understand it. So he's a great educator as well. So to have him as a keynote speaker anywhere, let alone the Texas Hempstalk, is a true benefit to the people on staff, and even more so the people in the audience who have the benefit to listen to what he has to share. And I think it's about time people pay tribute to Paul for all of his amazing work. And I had a chance to be a joint host on the Cannabis Common Sense show for a handful of years. Had a lot of fun doing it. And I can certainly tell you, Paul's charming, charismatic, down to earth. And if you get a chance to hang out with Paul Stanford, it would behoove you to take a minute to take time for hemp with Paul.
That's a great idea.
It is a good idea. Now, Joshua, I want to just change gears from the speakers to the artists that are going to be performing there. I've got the list of artists right here on the website. Let me sure you got the right page. Here we go. And there is a pile of artists, musical artists that are performing over at your Hempstalk there. And actually, there's one band there that I have seen live, and that is Los Marijuanos. I've seen them.
Pony Boy.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yes. Casper was there too at the same time.
Yeah, he was up in Toronto, and then I got to enjoy Pony Boy live in concert at Seattle Hemp Fest and Portland Hempstalk. Pony Boy's got an excellent sense of humor. He's got fantastic vocal range. He's clever when it comes to putting together lyrics. They got an amazing beat. I tell you, you can't find a better time. Well, you always find a good time when you're hanging out with Pony Boy and the band at Los Marijuanos. Yes, absolutely. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh my God. I quoted him in KANEH Movie. If you guys haven't seen that, there's a hemp puppet, it's called Smokey, right? He's got the raspy voice, but he says, "What's up, my nuggets?" That's directly, being around Pony Boy, he loves the phrase nugget, man. Everybody is his nuggets, and I love him for that. He treats us all like family. Blessed be tree family. Yeah. Oh man, Pony Boy, thank you for bringing that to our attention, bro.
And we've also got Justin's also performing there as a Mad Dabber 710, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, they are.
That's actually, by the guys, that's one of the individuals that owes a lot of tribute to this. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a pile of music that's going on this weekend. Like I hadn't even scrolled down to the bottom of the list. There's your
Well,
Mad Dabber 710 right there.
yeah, I knew him before he was the Mad Dabber 710, and I met him shortly after he dealt with a involvement in a skirmish with the police, and he was healing from that. He spent a lot of time in a wheelchair, and he's back on his feet. Praise God! But I used to be a judge for the American Marijuana Music Awards and the Global Marijuana Music Awards, and Mad Dabber sent music to the awards committee, and I ended up getting his music put into my inbox for me to judge, and then I got to become better friends with the Mad Dabber, and he and I have been on Paul Stanford's show together a couple of times. He's got a charming sense of humor. He's fun to hang out with, very optimistic, very positive, just a ball of love.
You know, he deserves some credit too, guys. He set the standard. He's in Texas for patients to be able to consume cannabis while on, parole and under those kind of situations. Mad Dabber was the guy who created a legal presence for us over there in Texas so that you can still have your medicine when you need it. But continue. Yeah, definitely amazing, amazing talent too.
Yeah.
Well, tell us more about some of the other singers. I mean, we know about Los Marijuanas and the Mad Dabber. Tell us about some of the other people who are on stage.
Frank Nitti, I see that you've been promoting him.
So what I can do is read over the names with y'all as well, but you're going to have to come out, you're going to have to click, and you're going to also have to go and listen to some of their amazing music.
All right, yes.
Frank Nitti, which you just mentioned, Los Marijuanas. There's the Mergia, Cosmic Boogie, the Shakira Ajopu, always fun. Young Gritty, David Winans Pie. We've got Richie Shaken Nagin, Reggae Soldiers, Hawaiian Lion, Mr. Green All Stars, all the real one, Mad Dabber, of course, Yoshi, which he spells that. If you guys ever want to look him up, it's YO money sign hashtag exclamation point. It's a little different, but you can still look him up. Z Costa, which is ZKOSTA, Young Bill Rap Sumo, which they call the Big Naff. All right. The DJ Big Red, Randy Bowden, a good Rogering, Justin James Bridges and Friends, and Callie Rose KB Bartley. There's the Ledbetter Ricky Versetti, Loose Screws, and Rusty Hearts. Our Last Days, Will Riley and the Band of Brothers, At a Place, Lady Ty. We've got Rakeem Williamson, Haley Ann Finley, and it's Shizzle. We've got Grace the Empress, T Phenomenon, Cookie Lone Star, C Kent, and True Summit, Daylighters, Killicad, and In the Shade. And of course, there's going to be more that's going to show up eventually. But guys, check it out. Definitely look up each one of these artists and see if they're your flavor, and earmark them for a show for Memorial Day weekend. Thank you again for all you do. Pace Radio is awesome for that. Thank you, guys.
The 38 bands, 38 artists in total.
So far.
So far, yeah. I see that you've got a button there on there if you want to perform.
Yeah, yep, well, let me ask a basic question here. Texas is a big place. We all got that. Where is this going to happen?
It's at a place in Weberville, Texas. The exact address would be for the Texas Music River Ranch at 2511 Post Oak Road. And that's, again, in Weberville. Weberville is spelled WEBBERVILLE. And that's in Texas, of course, at zip code 78653. So if you look at anywhere on the website, there's actually a section in here under the Texas Hempstalk 2025 where you can see the stage and kind of the events and the actual sweat lodge. They've got all kinds of stuff from camping to vendors to green zones, VIP areas all throughout this place, main cabins, family camping. It's going to be a pretty strategic event if you want to unite with other folks that are like-minded and accomplish some amazing things in the world. So
that sounds pretty good. Is this around Austin someplace?
Very close.
Okay, I'm trying to give people, if they want to travel down there, where are they going? Weberville doesn't mean nothing to me, but if Austin, everybody comes in. Huh?
Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
And it's
Well,
along the
good.
river there by along the Colorado border, right?
Yeah, Colorado River's right north of it. Correct, sir.
All right, all right.
All right, so
And
anybody going there can bring their own stuff. I mean, food, bring an RV, and of course, if you have cannabis, we always recommend you bring that with you and give it to your friends. But if they didn't come, there's food, there's what? You got everything you could ever want, right?
Of course, there's supposed to be food, vending, and the ability for everybody to get some rest and recuperation there, enjoy some amazing music, get educated. Hopefully, we're going to do some literary review for those eggheads out there that really want to learn something important and valid. You got any books that you guys would recommend we throw out here to the audiences so that we can put them up on the stage and say, hey, why don't you give this a read or two? What about yourself?
I know Al's got a book that might be interesting to include, right, Al?
Yeah, I love to have my book put out there,
I'd love to hear about it, man. Go ahead.
especially Memorial Day weekend, because the first half of the book is about my service in the Navy. So
Thank you for your
you're welcome. And then just to remind you, when you guys are introducing Casper that weekend, regardless of what Sanford, that's his job, but Casper was in the Army. He was actually in the friggin' Army. So, so again, Memorial Day weekend, I want everybody to have fun, but I always want everybody to remember what the weekend's about. It's your freedom is because somebody did something very nice for you. So, it's what it is. But the idea again in Texas, the idea that you're putting entertainment with education, I think it's a winner. I just you have patience. Let me go there because that's my thing. What do you mean by patience? These are people that have had a problem, used cannabis, and recovered in some way. Is that the basic story?
Are you asking me what is the definition of a patient, or what do I mean in reference?
He's asking what kind of patients are you working with, and who are kind of
Yeah, I mean these cancer patients. These
Okay. So our concern right now, if you want to be technical, is that they're depriving all of us of our food. We need the ability to have the essential fatty acids from hemp seed. It needs to be established as essential. There's 7 presidential executive orders that list this as an essential resource. There's a federal protocol to use FEMA and the military to harvest hemp. We need to educate the states on the federal protocols and the structure. When they decriminalized in Washington, D.C. in 2014 for medical marijuana, what they basically said is if you're going to intend to use this for medicine, then we're going to respect that. And that means that we're going to allow certain things to go on. And that's why we have different states being able to decide how they want to implement that. But in the state of Texas, they're right now at a teeter-totter for deciding what is essential. Can this be a food that's required? Is this non-euphoric vegetable that's reintroduced to a seed oil, is this considered a euphoric drug? No. So this medical food is what we have to clarify. The things that they're trying to go after, like we have to understand what you're talking about with patients is everyone is a patient according to Dennis Perone. All use is medical if you want to be technical. But when it comes to educating about the medical side, sir, I think the accolades of PTSD that we end up all of us have it. One of the things that Dabber 710, by the way, I'm sitting back here speaking to the awesome abilities of these other individuals that are organizing and putting this together. I take no credit for any of this whatsoever, gentlemen. I'm just saying they need to be spoken of and they need to be recognized just like yourselves. But when it comes to the servant heart of someone like Dabber who's saying all of us have PTSD, if you want medical cannabis in Texas, we will find a doctor here that will sign off for you to have your recommendation so that you can have access to your medical good. Well, that's an advocacy program. We do advocate for patients. Obviously, we're all patients. So that particular element of having consumable cannabis for a medical purpose, obviously, we are right there paralleled with and wanting to echo that. But even more, I would like to make a bold statement that this is supposed to be accepted as a food, as a medical food that's supposed to be essential to women and children as well. So why is it that we put an age barrier on medical? Why is it that this is not established as an essential to help our brains develop, help our bodies heal, to stop the epidemic of all of these other mental health issues? From every 2 years, your body is fully regenerated. And if you haven't had the essential fatty acids to do so, you're going to degrade, you're going to lose it. So we have to reinstall this plant into our daily routines as an essential food. And in doing that, we also are claiming the fuel, because the byproduct of the seed is also going to be the fuel industry. So we have to look at it as, if you're going to grow the seed for food and you're going to grow the herb for its effervescent aroma, then when you reintroduce them together, they make the perfect full spectrum food for allowing your body to repair itself. So why is it that anybody can tell me that this is classified with a deadly toxic alcohol, methylated alcohol, and then it's classified as that alcohol extraction, that it's poisonous? And then we're taking this presumed belief and applying it to the citizenry. So we're just educating them that we're not using their system that way. We're advocating for the system that we're supposed to be doing. And they're a republic in Texas. Let's not forget that. They're freedom fighters, and they knew that their big guns would keep the federales and everybody on the other side of the water. So when you look at that industry, they're all concerned that they're going to lose their firearms, these patients' rights, the advocacy for law enforcement, even with the Sheriff's Association, to come in and to sponsor for what this medical use and this industrial use should be. That's what we're trying to bridge, is this opportunity for not just the politics, but the state elected officials. And don't forget, your sheriff is your elected official for the county. So you look at that, and instead of being afraid and timid, we are declaring. If you don't declare your rights, then you're going to be losing them to silence, and consent becomes silence, and they can do what they want with you being silent. So pardon me, gentlemen, for that little ditty, but yes, there's a big reason why we advocate for patients. We are all patients. We need this. It's essential to us. And the federal government has already accepted this. The presidents have said this. They have executive orders at the ready for us to implement. So why aren't we doing this? Well, we got some greedy people in here still trying to keep things suppressed so that they can control stuff. You can't control the lion when you set it free. That's the truth. It can set itself and defend itself. So with that being said, this plant, once we fully understand what's going on here, we're going to be able to feed people. We're going to be able to nurture their hearts, their bodies, their minds, repair them. And this is all because you came to an event and you plugged in with the right individuals, read a book by someone like Mr. Byrne, or come on, guys, you all know that we have the solution. So why is there still these problems? It's just a lack of communication, a lack of community. They divided us with COVID, made coughing taboo. Don't come near me with that bad cough. Well, guess what? You know how to clean a pipe. You know what it means to get a sacramental puff. You know what the differences are between medical and the intended purpose. The rest of the people just look at this like it's a Cheech and Chong movie and don't understand until we tell them. You have everything you need already with this plant. We have our lunches packed. Go ahead, gentlemen. I apologize, but I love it too.
No, it's
Oh, no, don't. You've raised some very interesting points. And I think one that you say this, but I'm not sure that your politicians or those leadership hear it. It's a plant. When they hear the word cannabis or marijuana, they think drug.
Correct.
And years ago, I've told this story many times, but even when I started off on this mission of teaching people that medical cannabis could actually exist, I still had to deal with guys like Casper Leitch and other activists who refused to call the plant cannabis. It took me 3 years. I threatened all kinds of people with all kinds of things, but finally it was cannabis. And that I'm telling you alone, Joshua, that alone changed the conception in a lot of people's mind. It became cannabis and not just marijuana. And another thing I'll just tell you on those words, if you Google medical marijuana on Google, Google will take you over here. If you, they're going over there. Medical marijuana goes over here. If you Google therapeutic cannabis, it'll take you over here.
Correct.
So language is super important. And I just have to say that when you're dealing with, again, you're trying to educate people that are lawyers and cops, law enforcement. I got nothing particularly against any of them, except they don't know anything about botany or medicine. Nothing. Yet they're making up these rules. So I would hope some of your speakers would point that out, that the people that are deciding these medical decisions for Texans aren't doctors. And, in most states, that's against the law. If you don't have a medical license. So the whole thing is preposterous to begin with. The idea that it's still Schedule I federally is a joke.
Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead. The Republicans in Texas are missing the boat. When President Trump was here in Florida, this is his home state, he came down to do, politics stuff here. And we had a vote going on, an initiative. So the people were voting on it about legal cannabis. And he said, yeah, I think Florida should have legal cannabis. What's wrong with you people? We missed by just as much. So, even the president has indicated that if nothing else, he's willing to let states have states' rights in this issue. But another thing that Texans need to know, and again, it's Memorial Day weekend. If Texas has legal cannabis, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so medical. Okay, your veterans in Texas can then use medical cannabis and go to a VA hospital and be treated with dignity. The veterans that live right straight north of you in South Dakota, if they try to use cannabis and go to a VA hospital, they are removed from the grounds.
Oh, wow.
So it's Memorial Day weekend. And I hope somebody would say that the federal government, if nothing else, should at least allow veterans in all of our states to have the same medical protocols. It's ridiculous. I call it medical treatment by geography, which in my mind is, that's what it is. It's where you live. What's your zip code? And that's illogical. It's immoral, and it's medically unethical.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but one of the things that Al Byrne is not including too is that Al Byrne, along with an individual by the name of Michael Crowitz, are the two primary activists who made it possible for military veterans to include medical cannabis in their medical care without losing their veterans benefits. And thank you, Al. Thank you, Michael, for all your hard work in making that happen.
Right. Well, Michael did the lion's share of it, but thank you very much. We worked hard. A lot of other people did too. It just wasn't me and Michael. It never is just the guys that have their name out there. It never is. But again, we have our government right now that is not treating your veterans equally, and that sucks. There's just no.
Well, Al, how many caregiver hospitals, how many caregiver facilities has the federal government built for veterans? I think there's 2 in the whole country.
Yeah, there's not very many. It's being taken over by nonprofits. Good for them. A lot of people are chipping in. I do understand, and again, I'm not bringing up President Trump just because I'm a Trumper or something. I really am not. I would not want to have a beer with that guy. But let me just put it that way, okay? But on the other hand, the man is dedicating his entire salary for 4 years. Yeah, he's a billionaire, but it's $1 million something, and it's all going to U.S. homeless veteran charities. His press secretary has been on this. The federal government is going to take all the vets off the street. We're going to do it right now.
Right.
So that should be done, of course. So anyway, that's enough of the veteran thing. But there is an inequality there. I think the more people that understand it, Texas is taking care of its vets, but there's others that don't, and I just don't think they know. It's just like your lawyers that you're going to try and influence, and you will eventually, except maybe that lieutenant governor. They're just going to have to understand it's a plant. And we talked to, we had an interview just 2 days ago with a doc down in a famous U.S. doc in Venezuela. Venezuela has assigned the cannabis plant to the Department of Agriculture. And that's exactly where Texas should put it. And that's where the federal government should put it. It's a plant. And as soon as we can get that kind of mindset going, that, oh, wait a minute, it's a plant. It grows in the ground, but these guys, I'm telling you, they're lawyers, they're cops, they think drug. So try and
Sir,
do what you can for me on that one.
Yeah, I will. And thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you've done to help so many. That is recognized first and foremost. I would just let's focus towards the moment of what we're saying. The veterans deserve care because they provided our freedom. And I agree with that sentiment. And they do have a priority of care in the order of operations, along with the tribal communities and such. What I would suggest is that we adapt a strategy specifically towards, if you're going to bring up the PTSD and the veteran side of things, that we don't do it as a disarmament program like they intended to do by sharing all of the databases of the medical use cards and saying, oh, they voluntarily violated their DS form for their firearm. We need to have some form of capacity in order to have those kind of tools and resources at the ready. But at the same time, what I'm seeing as a medical proponent is it was used as a disarmament program to give medical to anybody. And I advocate for caregiver rights to also have the ability for Second Amendment. I know you might be in Canada and not necessarily agree with some of these parts, but Texas really needs to hear that, because they're worried that if we give this medical marijuana to everybody, that we're going to have the crazies lose their guns. That's not what we're trying to say, though. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, no, I see in the news, 'cause I do a news broadcast, and I see that in the news where they talk about banning the rights for the people who are using medical cannabis and not allowing them to own a gun. Just because they're using medicinal cannabis, there's no reason to ban them from having rights to a gun. Like, that's I completely against that, because the fact that they allow people who are on opiates for prescriptions for medications, they can own a gun,
right?
And people can get stoned on aspirins. They don't ban people from having aspirins in the house if they own guns.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Patients, I think it's totally wrong to ban a patient from owning a gun.
Well, and to be honest, too, I would rather walk into a room of people getting high who own guns than walk into a bar with a bunch of drunk people who have guns.
yeah, same here. And I'm not a gun owner. Or
no. By any means, go ahead.
I look at it as that stigma against people with cannabis and think that they're all crazies. And it's totally wrong.
Yeah, but law enforcement would agree with Casper.
Yeah, permission to speak.
Law enforcement in this country, all over the world, knows that people that use cannabis are not going to unload on them. They're just not. And when you're dealing with fentanyl or alcohol or whatever, who knows? They worry about that. But law enforcement's on our side when it comes to cannabis. I've had conversations in my time with the law enforcement heads of various states.
Leap, right? You guys used to interview Leap, right? Sorry,
every Wednesday I'd have Leap Day, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. Had one of the founders, Peter Chris, as the joint host. Did it?
Anyway, those guys are Leap speaks out, but they're representing almost 95% of their cohorts. Nobody's worried about they're just not worried about violence with cannabis. The guy, I just want to tell this story because I did it the other day, and I had a meeting one day a long time ago with George McMahon, one of the federal patients. There you go, a federal patient. That means a cannabis smoker got all his cannabis from the federal government that said it's not a medicine. I mean, talk about hypocrisy on steroids. Anyway, George and I were in Minneapolis, and the head law enforcement officer of the state police came to have a little meeting with us about cannabis. He knew what the subject was. He was right on time, really nice guy, and he brought us some cookies, some chocolate chip cookies. And he said, I know this is going to be a rather long meeting, and I thought you guys might get the munchies.
That's nice.
So I thought, well, he wasn't too worried about violence. He wanted to know about he was very open to the medical argument. He didn't know it, but
and speaking of George too, Elvie Maseka's coming to the event there in Texas too, isn't she, Joshua?
That's the word. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, well, say hello to Elvie. She's a heroine, man. She was one of the, not the original, but she got on the board of directors of Patients Out of Time, and did us well for years and years and years. I think we started up in 95, but I think she joined us in 2003 or 4, and traveled all over the place for us.
Big Kaneh.
Yeah. All over the
place. She's a ball of love too. She's a ball of love. Now, I also understand they're at the Hempstalk there in Texas that you're going to have some glass blowers there showing how they do that, right?
That's awesome. What I'm excited to see. Yeah, we got. Let me see. It was the specific partner here. Pardon me for scrolling for a second, gentlemen. There's
a partner.
Couple, yeah, I believe he's under the partner side, but let me just
Wishes. There's Wishes Inc. There is Grunt Style GS.
I don't think he has all of our glass blowers listed on here yet. Okay, we'll have to update that, gentlemen.
Well, tell us about the glass blowers. What are they going to be doing besides blowing glass? What's up? Are you going to watch them? Handing them pipes? What's the deal?
Oh, you're a hoot, brother. So, well, there's a bunch of things going on. I'm trying to find the company if I can look it up for y'all. Pardon me.
I've got your glass blowers up there, I believe.
There you go. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Glass blowing experience, May the 24th or 25th. And there's Stony Chicken.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, and lace face glass.
Mace face glass, correct.
So are they giving out free pipes or something like that, or what?
As far as I know, they're doing limited edition stuff live, and they're also working on trying to get some veterans to learn how to pour some hempcrete there too. So it's not just the glass blowers; it's just teaching the craftsmanship that's also directly around the plant. That I think that's the specific area that we're speaking to right now. Let me see here. There's an education pavilion that they'll be participating in, both workshops and also have vending areas. So you can purchase one.
Talking about hempcrete and using it for building and homes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. That's also one of the topic lines. So
that was supposed to be a jumping off point for you to talk about it.
Oh, for me. You guys have to forgive me on this because I'm just a steward of introduction, right? So when I look at this, a lot of this information is not just the first time. It's been inundated with conversation. And to me, it's become one parallel, which is Hempstalk is going to go on Memorial Weekend. Whoever shows up, you're going to enjoy it. And when it comes to the glass blowing experience or any of these other strategic partners, they're doing augmented reality. They're doing a lot of but these are things that these individuals have prepared, and I don't want to steal their thunder by any means. And what I'm trying to do is advocate for you to also to go and experience what they're going to do live. If I could tell you that, I would definitely record the video and share it. But as to like the VIP treatment, obviously there's going to be some of those promotions and those kind of things go on. As to glass blowing, they're going to have education. Like one of the things that I would like to segue on, if we're going to bring this up, is there's a book that somebody wrote in this group that talks about the ethics and the healing proponents of using something like a glass blown pipe and why that's advantageous and why it is that we even do those things. And those kind of topics do need to come up in this arena, not just the art form and the auction and all of those other things that they use for the amazing art, but I think it's also a medical proponent. And I'm trying my best here to illustrate what's going on, but you'd have to experience, to be honest, gentlemen. So,
well, that's what we'll do. Is we're a little past the hour mark. We like to keep the attention of our audience. I found if we go more than an hour, they fire up a pipe and walk out of the room. So that's what we need to do. So, Joshua, is there anything you want to say about the Texas Hempstock 2025 before we wrap it up?
Yes, I am humbled to be in the presence of greatness. So many individuals have committed their time, energy, and focus to make an amazing event to educate and empower the next generation about this wonderful plant. I believe it to be an awesome legacy and memory to Jack Herrera and individuals that have passed, like Mr. Larry Kirk. And thank you for sharing testimony like only you could, Casper. I'm I'm stewarded with information, and that information is here is where to go. TexasHempstalk.com and read all about it. Join up, follow along, make sure that you're a part of it if you're in the area, or just watch the video log after, especially like things like this. Thank you so much for Time for Hemp, Pace Radio, and all that you do, Patients at a Time, and the veterans and everybody else that's participated in not just this movement, but all of us together learning this amazing plant. So it's not one of us, and by any means, all I'm trying to do is advocate for all these other individuals that are putting their time and energy to entertain and educate you all. And thank you again for the honor and opportunity to share this information with y'all.
Well, you've
And
been a good
Al,
spokesperson for them, man. You did a good
Yeah,
job.
exactly.
Yeah.
Congratulations to everybody that's involved in making this happen, because it takes a lot of volunteers as well as all the organizers. And from what I read on the information there, this is the first annual festival that's going on there. And
First kickoff.
yeah. So good luck, and I look forward to hearing about the results of it. We'll have to have you back.
Well, I would appreciate that, gentlemen. I also look forward to Michael Kemp and Dabber 710 giving you the full brevity of what's going on live. And hopefully Pace Radio will be a representative correspondent. And thank you again for all you guys do. It's an amazing honor to see you still doing it and kicking ass, guys. Blessed be Tree Family.
and Al Graham, why don't you let people know what's going on at the Pace Radio Network up there in Canada, Canada?
Up here in Canada, yeah, Pace Radio, people advocating cannabis education radio network. We broadcast every day of the week with something that's new that's coming out. Some days we have 2 broadcasts, and we've also bringing content providers that we allow to broadcast on our network, and that includes Time for Hemp.
And Al Byrne, remind people again how they can pick up your fantastic book.
Yes. Fantastic. It's a good book. It's 360 pages long. You could get it ebook or, hard soft cover. It's Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes and Noble, wherever you want to order a book. It's got a lot of good reviews. I wrote it for 2 reasons. One, we've talked about a little bit. I wanted the people that did the work, especially the medical cannabis people, remembered. I wanted people in the future to know that these people were, like we talked about Elvie a little bit. Elvie's in the book. She's one of these people that everybody should know about Elvie Masika. So there's dozens of folks like that, and I wrote stories about them all. Jack Herr, Dennis Perron, all these names you've heard. I interface with these guys, and I've told some stories about them, and I've complimented them. Because they should be complimented. However, there were also a bunch of assholes along the way.
Let's be real. Yes.
just a few. So I named them too. And if they're dead, I'm sorry about that, but I didn't care. So that was a big thing. I needed to get that out of my system, And then the rest of the book is about education. I know everybody knows a lot about hemp and cannabis. I guarantee you read the last half of my book, and you'll learn a lot, more than you knew you didn't know. And that was part of the idea, that to let people know this is valuable. This is valuable. Your sister's sick, your dad's hurt. You can help them. You can help them with this. This cannabis is, as Joshua has said, it's a remarkable plant. It's food. It is the most nutritious food in the world. Mm-hmm. There's nothing better that your body could absorb. And here's the key. I know all you mothers are out there going, no, you don't heat it up. You see what he's doing? He's lighting up. He's and then he coughs. It's not. It's
Don't heat it up. That'll be bang.
don't do that. You eat it cold. Anyway,
Right.
you
Right.
read all of that, and then if you eat it cold, there's no psychotropic anything. It's just really good food. We had our guest ahead of Joshua. You'll see him in the mix. Dr. Bill, he is in Venezuela, and he's the guy that developed this food thing in the beginning. He got onto it, medical doctors, all that. And he said the same thing, Joshua. You and him, man, you ought to have a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are joined at the hip. Anyway, thank you so much. It was a great show.
And I want to let people out there know I have finally come out of hibernation. Those who know me well know that I seldom leave my cave. But I've come out of hibernation, and I'm roaring down the road to head to Texas HempstalK 2025. I hope to see you there. Please check out my archives. That is one of the reasons why I'm still doing this. And so the voices in my archive will not go silent. It will always be heard. And there's a lot of free music you can download from the Illusions of Music on the website. Free newsletter, lots of blog content. At the bottom of each blog, you'll find a free MP3 that you can download. There's a song about how wonderful cannabis is. And I am looking so forward to coming together Memorial Weekend in Texas at the Texas HempstalK 2025 to join my wonderful hemp family and to celebrate the wonderful aspects of this plant and let the whole world know how important it is to take time for hemp.
Look at all that money, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison